Okay.
I will call the February 18th meeting of the Irmo Town Council to order and recognize Councilwoman Kathy Conlon to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our Father in heaven, we ask for your grace and blessings in our lives and in the lives of the members, citizens of this town. We ask that you give us the guidance and wisdom to do the town's business in the way most pleasing to you. We also ask special grace this evening for Barry Walker, who's ill and not here with us. Please grant him a speedy recovery. We ask this in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen. Next item on the agenda is the reading of the minutes for February 4th. Is there a motion for approval?
I so move.
And a second?
Second.
And any discussion? If none, all in favor of the minutes as written, do so with show of hand. And next item is administrative briefing. Mr. Brown, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, sir.
Any questions of Mr. Brown on anything under it?
It has to do with Jake, though, about Ms. Hilliard. Have we heard from Ms. Hilliard? Or
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Her son has gotten the easement that I prepared, and we've gotten it all drawn out, and her son has approved it. Ms. Hilliard's approved it. I am told that the easement is on its way back to us. You have to wait generally in getting things signed by her until he has time to actually go see her. They don't see each other on a weekly basis. The thing is, I've been assured it will be signed. I've also had occasion to talk to her, to him some more about the possibility of maybe in some fashion negotiating something on that 6 acres that she owns, either for us or for the fire district, which is interested in doing some development over there with and I've been very honest and open with them about what either expansion of the park maybe or something that the price is right. She has a serious problem in that the basis she has in the problem is so incredibly low, and if she sold it, she would take a big tax hit. But I've explained to them that we could possibly engage in some sort of a friendly condemnation that would give them a price which should be able to defer or eliminate the income tax by doing it that way. Mr. Davis in that concept. I told them that we would not take any action that would be hostile to them, but if there was some way we could work something out that would benefit her and benefit the town or the fire department, we would certainly like to talk to them. And he said that sounded good, they were going to check it out, and I was correct. They talked to me some more. So the walking trail, from what I understand, has been approved. I think I got told by the administrator tonight that on the 25th we're going to be meeting with Union Church, talking to them about any concerns they may have. We hopefully will be able to have that walking trail in. I understand that Mr. Klein tells me that his folks had nothing to do recently, and so they ought to be able to put it in immediately. But I think we're making some serious progress there. If there's any change of anything, I'll let you know. Of course, it won't be done until I have it in my hand, but I think it'll be.
Any other comments, questions?
There's one other thing. It's in the administrator's briefing. I think y'all were at the e-cycle thing, and I was there late. I didn't get there till 11:30. It was bumper to bumper.
Yes.
I don't know how many pounds of stuff y'all got, but
2 tractor trailers full and a box truck full.
good Lord. We need to do this more often, maybe. I don't know. I'm just shocked that The turnout we've had is astounding.
It was constant line after 30 minutes after opening, all the way out to St. Andrews Road.
It was at 11:30 too.
Do you think that was part, maybe because of Christmas, people got new TVs or something, get rid of old ones, or is it just?
Probably so.
But it was that way in November. We just did this less than 3 months ago.
Well, Mrs. Buck was shooting for November again. We don't want to do it in
You
the
sure?
summer
Okay.
because Richmond County's got an event coming up also
we got
in the
May
next quarter.
16th Fairgrounds for Richland County residents.
Okay. Okay.
And we had to reschedule to keep the Midland, of course, this was a Keep the Midland Beautiful project, which is incredibly valuable to us, but we also are rescheduling the K&B cleanup day for Winterburg.
Adopt a highway cleanup, town
Yeah.
cleanup thing? I don't know, I'll have to check.
I haven't heard a date.
But one more, what Jack did, she followed up, making sure everything was cleaned up on Sunday, which was not. So she and several of us, Brian and some others, there was only one man that showed up from the company. And so nothing was packaged up, so everything had to be packaged up in crates and on pallets. And we got it done, I think, in about 2 hours.
Yes.
So
Gracious.
Jack, thank goodness Jack stopped by the school to make sure everything was cleaned up, but it was not, which is good.
So do we owe you some kind of like hard?
No, we owe Jack.
fee?
No, Jack. Jack and Brian, they did a great job.
I do.
Next item is receipt of communications, and I think we have the ladies from the Irmo Farmers Market here to kind of share with us.
Hi, thanks for having me tonight. It's good to hear you guys are expanding the park because we went out there not too long ago, and as beautiful as it is, it's quite, the parking is going to be a monster come April when the market starts. So we are having our season this year, starting a month early, to end a month early. And so we wanted the season to start in April of this year and end in September. So I think we're really here. I'm really here to answer any questions that you may have. We're hoping that all the logistics have been worked out, that we can continue where we are on Carlisle Street. We had an amazing first year out on Carlisle Street. The vendors know the drill on how to set up and tear down. The community is aware of where we are. And until the park expands and we get more parking, because honestly, you have about as many parking spaces as we have vendors, which will pose a problem, especially with about 1,000 people coming through that short 3-hour period of time. So what we're hoping to do and what we propose to do is to stay where we are on Carlisle Street from April until September. Times still the first and third Saturday of every month from 9 to 12, and closing that street off for that period of time. And when the park expands, we would love to be over at the new park.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I think the only thing you might want to add, just for the record, I know Councilman Walker isn't here, but one of his, I think if I understood, one of his concerns or desires, I guess you might say, or wishes, is that we move it over there. Which we were under the impression that from Bob, that it may not work out for whatever reasons. But if you can just expound on those reasons, which I guess the main one is parking.
The main one is parking, and we went out there with Bob and actually Bob Witt was out there, and we spent a good hour and a half out there just milling around and walking from the different parking lots to where Witt had an idea of where to put it, and it is a grassy area. The walkway is not wide enough, and one of the proposals was, or suggestions was, to widen that walk trail, but it's in the very back. Actually, it's in the front if you come in the front, in the very front and the back, and it's round. It's the circular path. To widen that so that you could have foot traffic as well as the vendors there. It's a great area. However, If we had the vendors there, they would be in the dirt and the grass, which is fine if it doesn't rain. We can't possibly ask folks to set up their tent and their goods and wares in the dirt. No other market has done that, and I just think it wouldn't be quite fair, because we want everyone to have tables and tents. So it's setting all that equipment up in the dirt, whether it rains or not. It is it's also a pretty far distance for the elderly people to walk, and we kind of worked that out with the Irmo Fire Department Foundation. They're willing to help us when the park opens with transportation, with 6 passenger golf carts to take people back and forth from their cars to the market. But I really worry about the elderly people or older people, disabled people, getting back to that area. And then we have an unloading issue because it's the dirt road to that area is narrow. And again, we expect 48 vendors every week that the market is open. And when you have 57 parking spaces and we have 48 vendors with 1,000 people coming through, I just think until the park expands, where we are, it's a good place to be. And what we'd like to do is our Christmas market, if everything goes well and the park expands, what a great place to put the Christmas market this year, because that was very successful and a lot of fun for the community. But to answer one of your questions, we would love to be at the new park to promote the new park. It's just not it'll be a logistic nightmare to move over there.
When you say expand, now to some people that may mean make the park bigger, but really what you're talking about is more parking.
Right, absolutely, more parking.
Possibly more pavement where the trail is in certain areas, not the whole thing, but just certain areas.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. And y'all are going in April this time through?
We are. We'd like to start in April this year and finish in September. October was a tough month for us. Just football season starts, a lot of festival starts. It was not as well attended as the rest of the season, and the farmers actually start producing their spring crops end of March, 1st of April. So this would be a great time for the strawberries to be there more than just a month and a half. They've got all of April and all of May and a little bit of June, all the way through June actually, for strawberries. So I think it's a good thing for the farmers.
And as far as like having it over here, how much parking do we have between here and there and there? Do you know how many spaces?
Well, if we count our parking place down there in Lexington Avenue and Mowers Avenue and the town hall right here, there's 240 parking.
So we would need 100 to 150 over there to make it equivalent, or something maybe.
We get pretty filled up over here. We did last year during the farmers market. They fill up all of them, even have some parking on the road.
Okay.
There's a few spaces at the police department, isn't there?
Well, I counted those two. I'm talking about all the public parking right here in this area.
Okay.
Like 238, the exact number that we counted. So,
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, could I ask one question? The only rub I think we had last year were the folks from the Nose Chapel Church. Are we squared away with them?
I contacted Young's Chapel. I spoke with the associate pastor there several times. I actually reached out to them at Christmas time, and we didn't receive a return email or phone message from them. I really don't know where we stand with them. When we first had an issue with them, he came to that market on that Saturday. I met him. I spoke with him for a few minutes. They've put out signs saying no parking. They marked off the area. Karen and I actually talked about reaching out to them again this year, and it's something that we'll do before April.
Well, I think too, a lot of it was on certain Saturday mornings, the ladies in the choir come and do their singing practice, choir practice, and they were having to park wherever instead of parking there. But I will say the last so many months y'all had it over there, I didn't have any more calls from them. I don't know that that meant they were satisfied or they just got there calling, but I think they were satisfied that there was attempts made to, not be in front of them, and then,
Well,
they put up some signs, and some people still park in front of them, but that's
right. And I think that we did a really good job with, on the newsletters that went out to the community. Please do not park in, the Young's Chapel parking lot. We didn't explain why. We just asked them not to park there. None of our vendors ever parked there. If they did, we immediately moved them. The vendors knew not to park there. And I would, want to venture to say that every newsletter that went out and on Facebook, find other parking. There's plenty of other parking elsewhere. Don't park at the church. But we do expect to, we do plan to reach out to them again.
You can find the core that make everybody happy.
I understand that, yes.
Is the seafood man coming back?
He is.
Okay.
So right now, as it stands, unless council meets and changes or wants something else done, we'll have it at the current park until we either come up with more parking or something. Or maybe the church gives us, now if the church gives us the easement, or not the easement, but the ability to park in their lot, will that change things as far as having a trail?
I think there are two issues with us moving to the park. One is parking and one is where to set up the vendors. So the big issue is, those are the two big issues, is parking and then where to set up vendors.
And all that.
We actually counted, I believe there were 27, am I right, Karen? 20. We looked around the area where the amphitheater was and that parking lot, but the parking lot behind the amphitheater has handicap parking. But we could fit 27 to 28 vendors in that small area. So we'd have to cut out 20 of our vendors to use that space if we had more parking.
The walkway in the back, where would it have to double in size, or?
I think we need to add another 12 feet.
Okay.
And we measured it, and I believe it'll hold 50 vendors, if I'm not mistaken, around 50 vendors. So it would be doubling, adding 12 feet for the tent and the tables and a little more foot traffic all the way around that circular path. It would be a beautiful place to have it because it's in the back of the park, and everybody's, you just make one big loop around the market.
Wouldn't we have to do that for the orchestra anyway?
No, and the cost to do that,
Just
you're
put
probably
that out
looking
there.
at $70,000-$80,000
To repave that wider, you're talking about?
to double the width of it.
You couldn't close off the back end of Church Creek where it goes up to the park and use that just road. In other words, you only have one entrance and exit to the park during that period of time, and you use Church Street itself just like we use Carlisle Street.
It's not quite as wide. It could be used, the area over by the picnic shelter. I mean, that's a large paved parking lot.
But you go to the park, you can do that.
Yeah.
Right, but I mean, the same thing out here. When we use Carlisle Street, you've eliminated all the parking on Carlisle Street. They have to come across the street here and park. They have to park on Lexington Avenue or go down to the little parking lot by the thing. They could come up and park back in the what is now the gravel drive, and eventually, as I understand it, I know in the initial plannings for the park, that nice open round area, that grassy field, was set for parking and would hold about 250 cars. So,
Got to get the centipede to take hold before we start parking cars.
yeah.
Not ready for it now, that's for sure.
Yeah, maybe a while before, till it settles to get hard enough. I mean, is that going to be after a good summer before it gets hard, or?
It would be the one that.
It's going to take a year to settle, I would think, and
It should be, by the end of this coming summer, it should be good established. Weather's right.
For right now, this part here is the ideal spot,
It is the ideal spot for us.
and it's been a success since it started last year.
It's been a tremendous success. I mean, we won Best New Business this year from the Chamber of Irmo, so thank you. We've worked really hard to make it successful here at this location, and I think, I mean, we've been there 6 months. I think it's a great place to continue and then move on to the other park.
And the crowds increase each month.
I will say October was not as crowded as the rest, but we just had an amazing season. If you see the pictures on Facebook or some of the pictures that we've taken, you look down the road and it's people. You see no pavement, no end in sight. It's the top of folks' heads all the way down the street. So it was very well attended. We have a waiting list of vendors that participate in the market. We only hold 48. We always have a list every month of folks that want to participate, and I think that if it wasn't successful, people wouldn't want to be on the waiting list.
You're right, though, to consider the age of so many that I see, you know, going to the different vendors, because there aren't that many young. There's a lot of middle age, and there's a lot of people older than me. It's pretty old. But you have to be
Right.
aware of their needs. You know, they need a solid surface, and
Well, we timed the walk from the picnic area over to the where the circle is, and it's a nice 4 to 5 minute brisk walk. So someone that's not as capable, you know, walking, and it's going to take them a little bit of time, and that's not carrying bags, because everyone brings bags to tote their goodies home in, or carts, and we do have a lot of people with canes and wheelchairs, and they just like to get out. I mean, it's amazing how people will come out not just to shop, but to hang out. And they're there for an hour and a half, eating lunch, shopping, watching the kids in the park, and enjoying their kids and grandkids with yoga, listening to the music in the park. It's really a day that people come out just to hang out.
Any more questions? Thank you.
So we're set on
Yeah, as far
this
as
park, April to September, 9 to 3, 9 to 12, first and third Saturday of every month. We're good to go. Yeah, okay, great. Thank you.
congratulations on your award.
Any other city communications?
I have one. I spoke to Representative Huggins, my ever-growing concern about Lake Murray Boulevard and that right-hand turn lane that we desperately need to Columbiana Drive. And he's asked that we send him a letter, you know, so the town would endorse it, send him a letter to express our wants to have a right turning lane there. Bob could, you know, probably draft that up and
Is
send it.
that to Chip or is that to Nathan? Which?
He wants to go to Chip Huggins.
Chip,
Oh, okay.
I spoke to Representative Huggins. And
Okay.
And we've got all the paperwork that we submitted last time through DOT in their, you know, reply back, so we can always include all that.
That's Lexington County, right? Yeah.
Richmond.
There's probably Richmond there, maybe, I'm not sure.
That's
Yeah,
Lexington.
it's Richmond.
That's like,
Well, it's DOT's road, but it's Richmond County, right there, City of Columbia, at the corner.
Yeah.
Just encourage
Okay.
the whole.
Yeah, because that's why we couldn't put it on the Lexington thing, 'cause it's Richmond, yeah. And y'all probably are aware of this already, because I think we all got emails that Chip sent out about the Irmo Drive, but I did want to let y'all know I got an official letter, whatever you call it, from them, that they are going to postpone that Irmo Drive until mid-June, mid to late June, something like that, until summertime.
That
Yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah, it really does, yeah. I'm glad somebody thought of that. I mean, I don't know why they want to close it while school's going on, when they can wait a couple months and do it when school's out.
If they say it's all because of contract when they bid it out, they don't take that under consideration, but they are willing to delay it.
Any other receipts or communication? Next item is presentation by citizens This is where anything you'd like to address Irmo Town Council that's on the agenda, then this would be the time to do it. All we ask is you give us your name and address for the record. Anyone who'd like to address council.
Hello, council. My name's Akeem Watson. I live at 530 Doncaster Drive in Irmo. First of all, I just want to commend the council for the job done at the park. I think it's a very nice park. It is a good combination of what I think we wanted to achieve in the town, you know, leaving a natural looking, beautiful area that's accessible. And I think it's getting a lot of use. The kids are enjoying it. My kids are out there almost every day. It has a lot of activity, primarily with the kids. They love it. One of my concerns, however, is us turning this park into something else. I can easily see it turning into a parking lot instead of a park. And that concerns me because we're there using it throughout the week, all the time. And I just want to make sure the council keeps that in mind when any changes possibly happen in the future with the park. I know expenses are one thing, and you all seem very frugal, and on top of that, my big concern is just the purpose of the park and what it's about. I like having the nature back there. I think most of the people in the community do. That was one of the big things that we fought for in the beginning, keeping a big natural space. And I think we're there now. I know that it's going to be difficult to gear up for parking for any large event that happens at that park. I think I heard mention that there's something like 500 spaces over here.
Or 200 over
just a
here.
couple of
200.
spaces here.
And we have 50 odd or 60 spaces.
57 over there,
So,
counting the handicap.
right, if we increase that, we're encroaching upon that natural beauty in the park that we all love. I don't know much about farmers markets or other big events, but I would imagine that they have different layouts because those types of things are purpose-built. So I just want the council to keep that in mind and make sure we don't turn the park into a parking lot. Thank you.
And well, I asked you something I know he had spoke to me today about, and I had told him to come over here and let us know. But you had mentioned something that I thought you might want to bring it up to Whit, let him know, and we can decide later what we need to do. But you were talking about people coming in and turning on that little road,
Right.
and then going down there and turning around, and the headlights coming in y'all's home.
Yeah, that's one of the things now. There's the I call it a service road or whatever's coming in there now, and the cones are at the end of the road. So I think a lot of people come in there and they don't realize that that doesn't go through or something, and they end up having to back out and turn around right there. And when they go in there, those headlights are shining in my bedroom. And I see that that's the potential place for new parking, and you know that's right behind several of our homes right there. So that's a concern to us. We don't want a lot of motor traffic right there where there's a nice view. And I like looking at the deer out there every weekend or every evening. And you know, it's a good natural space. I just don't want us to mess it up. And I think in the interim, maybe if those cones could come to the front of the road, I don't know what the objective is with the cones, that might stop people from driving into the park and then saying, uh-oh, and then having to do a three-point turn to get out of there.
I think it was to keep them from driving on the walking trail.
And on the grass.
Right. Because the grass, and that's another thing, I don't know that grass as well as I know my front yard, but my front yard stays wet year-round. And I think that's just a wet area. It's something that we're going to have to deal with. If we talk about putting cars on top of that grass or putting anything heavy on there, it's going to sink. And it's been wet for as long as I've been back there, which is going on 6 years now. So I think we should keep that in mind too. But all in all, great park. Kids love it. people are out there walking, getting exercise. I think it's really fitting the bill for exactly what I envisioned when I heard about the park. We haven't had the Okra Strut yet, but you know, everyone's a little bit nervous about that and what kind of activity that's going to bring. But then again, that's once a year, and you know, we all have to tolerate one another. So I think that's something that we can work out. I just want to make sure that we don't have our park going this way and then turn it into something else.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we may need to, you may need to ride down one day and just see if there's anything as far as planting bushes or ladling cypress or who knows what, just to kind of help
Oh,
offset
it'll be
that.
better when all the trees leave out too. So
Yeah.
that'll solve a lot of the problem.
That's right.
Anyone else who would like to address Irmo Council? Seeing none, no unfinished business. Next item is new business. Approval to renew a contract with Central Midlands Council of Government to provide planning consultant to the town in the amount of $12,500. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
And any discussion?
This is a standard
Yeah.
that we've done year after year. There's been no increase in it, has it?
No, we used to pay a lot more than this.
Yes, we did.
Well, Dan Bismo, I think we were paying around 30,000.
Yeah.
And then he wanted to go up from that. So
Yeah.
this is the best deal going around.
Yeah, I agree.
And what this is about for the people in the audience, we don't have a town planning consultant or whatever that works with our planning commission. As I had mentioned, we used to have a consultant that did it for us and charged a whole lot more. Now we contract out with Central Midlands to kind of borrow one of their people that are on staff there to come to our meetings in the evenings and just do whatever kind of help on a kind of a part-time basis, so it works out a whole lot better for the town. And that's kind of what we're doing, is just renewing that contract.
And that's one of those things that Central Midlands does for a lot of small municipalities that does not have someone on staff all the time.
All in favor then of approving the contract in the amount of $12,500, do so with show of hand. And next item is an approval of a budget amendment in the amount of $9,348 to purchase 600 tons of topsoil from J.C. Wilkie. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
And any discussion?
I think Whit can explain this probably better than any of us, but this is to take care of the remediation and the repair of one of the clover leaves.
The last firm, we haven't repaired yet.
Okay, and this is all part of that lawsuit that we had over the,
At Broad River
The
Road,
bad.
926.
right.
And I think, if I remember right, there's 47,000 left in that 150,000 settlement.
That we got
We're
from
using
settlement. Yes.
9,000 and something, so we'll have about 38,000 left to do
Correct.
some more out there when we get ready.
Correct.
So all in favor then of the budget amendment in the amount of $9,348, do so with show of hand. And next item is approval for community park grant opening ceremony on May 3rd, 2014. Is there a motion? Or is this more discussion?
It's
or-
more of a discussion right now. It could turn into a motion, but I'd ask that this be placed on the agenda. As we look at the grand opening of the park, and as we're seeing now, the park is being used on a daily basis for a few, and we'd like to make it well known to the rest of the community. We have decided on May the 3rd as the ribbon cutting or official opening day of the park. And I was thinking about some type of activity there for the community to come out, have a chance to walk through the park, walk the trail if they would like, see the amphitheater, the picnic shelter. We've already started taking reservations now for the use of the picnic shelter. And some of the thoughts I had was going back to the Okra Strut, talking with some of the vendors there, knowing that they do things like for SCE&G, you know, for their employees, like a one-day or a part of a day activity on the weekend type thing. If we could bring a couple of those vendors in that could do something like cotton candy and popcorn, and it'd be free to the public for a couple, 3-4 hours, so that folks that are coming out to see the park that day could enjoy a little refreshment. The last thing I would want to do would be to say, come out and view the beautiful park, and oh, by the way, bring some money, you know. Open it up, but that would require us setting aside an amount of money to cover the cost of that.
And bottled water, you know, if you do like cotton candy and popcorn, whatever, I think we'd have to add bottled water.
Right. I had asked one of the vendors to put some things together for me as to, and of course they gave me a whole laundry list. If you wanted to have blow-up bouncy toys for the kids there, if you wanted to have just cotton candy, popcorn, lemonade, that type thing, bottled water, what that might cost, keeping in mind they would have to pull their trailers in. I went back to the Okra Strut folks just because we have such a good working relationship with them. They all have their own liability insurance, their own food insurance, and it would be kind of a turnkey thing with them, and we wouldn't be working it. We would be hopefully there to welcome people into the new park, and want to get the council's feel on it.
How much money?
It could be anywhere from a couple $1,000 to $10,000, depending on what you wanted to do.
Depending on what you wanted, yeah.
If you wanted funnel cakes and hot dogs and corn dogs and that kind of thing, or if you just wanted popcorn and cotton candy, those were things that I thought of because those are very high profit items. And I'm not talking about the big monster bags of cotton candy and popcorn. You know, cotton candy on the stick, popcorn in the little bags. I know my church does popcorn like that, and we give it out to people that are walking. We're on Green Street downtown, and we give it out to people walking to the Coliseum, to the basketball games. It's not an extremely expensive thing. Of course, these vendors would be coming in from like Greenville or Charlotte and those type places. But
Are we still talking about like 10 to 2 or?
Well, we'd have to have an agenda, which we don't have now.
we don't have an agenda yet, and this is something to be considered if you're setting up an agenda. But I would be looking at, personally, thinking about something about 3 hours.
Yeah.
And the other thing too, you might want to think about before we get set on that May 3rd. Now, is that the first Saturday? Is that a farmer's market day too? Would they be having a farmer's market here?
It is. That's why Harvey wanted to do it more in the afternoon. And he was talking about first 11 to 3, something like that. So
after the farmer's market, and those people might just, I don't want to say swing over, but okay. So you wouldn't be trying to
No, I'm not
have it
trying
at the same time.
to infringe upon that, and but that is a Saturday.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
And you know, we've already published that as a date, but we haven't set a time, and it could easily be noon to or 11 to 3 or noon to 3. It would be fantastic to work it right after the farmer's market. You have all those folks here.
Okay.
But to think about it as far, the next thing is, that is springtime. It says everything's going to be in beautiful bloom by then. But that's springtime for the whole state. And these vendors are setting up their picnics for corporate picnics and church picnics now. So it would be important to get on their calendar to get a commitment that they would come.
And you're getting prices from most people?
Yes.
I mean, I think it'd be good too. The only thing I would add, just because I'm cheap and tight, probably echoing Paul over there. If it's closer to the 1,000, I'm probably more on board. If it's closer to the 10,000, I'm gonna probably squirm. Somewhere in between, I might be comfortable too, but I would just, I don't know what dollar amount Paul's thinking of.
How
but
about, could it be healthy snacks? Do something different. I don't know if children like healthy snacks.
Well, cotton candy.
What's more healthy than cotton candy?
Corn, that's a vegetable.
like bananas and apples, I don't
We can
know.
have fruit, yeah.
One of the things they did have was candy apples.
Oh, that's healthy, yeah.
Yeah, the dentist in town would probably go for kicking in a little bit of money for
Chocolate
that.
really is healthy too, I think, but I don't know.
I don't know.
And I love hot dogs and corn dogs, so I don't know.
Well, let me ask you this. If I could get this into a written form and get it out to everybody, or get it to Bob and have Bob send it out through his magic on the iPads, have everybody look at it, could we agree to maybe feed some information back to Bob that we could maybe come up with something reasonable, maybe along the line of his spending and
Yeah, what is your spending, 3?
And you probably, you know, Matthias has a fruit tray. I mean, we could include a few things like that would be healthy. Just, you know.
Sure. We could tell them to buy all the stuff over here and bring it over.
Well, I think 5,000 would be reasonable as a max.
That's more than I thought, but
are you looking at just food, or are you looking at any kind of bouncy type playground equipment for kids or anything of that nature?
I
Those
hadn't
big
thought about
blow-ups,
bouncing.
those big blow-ups are pricey too.
They are.
If you
Yeah.
want to get 1 or 2 of those, you're probably looking at 1,500 to 2,000.
For the bouncy?
What about the
Let them
face
wait till
painting?
Easter. That's fine.
That's another.
You know, that's what I'm trying to find out.
Things like that.
I think with just food, we could easily do it for about 5,000.
Good.
And maybe do the, like I say, balloon people and face paint.
Right,
people.
right. We're
We
just
might
trying to get a feel now so that we can come up
add
with some sort of
little
a,
things.
an agenda for what times the
It's
ribbon
somewhat
cutting
hard
going
to
to
do
be.
because we don't know how many people are going to show up.
No, you don't. You don't know how many people are going to show up.
Free food.
Free
I always
food.
show up free food.
I know.
It's,
Kim and I'll have to have cookies in reserve or something.
I mean, you know, we do kind of the same thing around Christmas time with the cookies and
Pizza and whatever.
hot chocolate and pizza. We spring for pizza.
Cookies are healthy.
Yeah, granola bars, okay. Could we do that, agree then, I'll get some information to Bob, have him put it out, and we kind of maybe work it against what he feels like he can do.
Is that fine with everybody?
Is that agreeable? Guys?
Are we thinking about 11 or 12 o'clock ribbon cutting?
What time is the farmer's market over at 12? Or probably? I mean, I'd say 11 or 12. I wouldn't say later than 12, and I wouldn't start earlier than 11 because, but somewhere in that time frame, then people would maybe just do it at 12. I don't know.
You tell me. I mean, we got to have something that's published.
You don't want to do it at a time that's going to overlap with the farmer's market. I would say that if the farmer's market ends at noon, what, when you start like 12:30 or something?
12 to 3 would be good.
Yeah, they're going to shut down at noon and start tearing
Yeah.
down.
'Cause we
And that would be a place for everybody to
Because
go.
we want those people, you know, that leave the farmer's market to come.
And we could let them promote it that day, that when people, where anyone can speak to us, address us on any issue, regardless of whether it's on the agenda or not, to address Irmo Town Council. Seeing,
12 to 3. I can slide it.
Julius Waits, 124 Bolters Lock Road. I'm here about the ordinance again. Last time I asked for clarification, and Mr. Mayor, you said I should go to the Planning Commission and send them a letter and go to their meeting. Well, they meet Monday, the first Monday in March, or at least they're scheduled. This will be the first meeting since July. And I started thinking, because I used to debate in high school. I'm not very good on my feet anymore, thinking, the older I get. And after I got home, I called a friend of mine that's a barrister. And he said, why does a citizen have to go to the Planning Commission to ask them to clarify something that is an ordinance of the town?
You can't get on their agenda. You have to get someone from council.
But if it's a law that's already on the books, why does the Planning Commission have to say it needs to be enforced, and then they tell you that the council, and the council tells the chief, and the chief tells his officers? Does that happen all the time in all the laws in the town of Irmo?
But like the mayor would tell you, it's just you have a separate interpretation of the ordinance than...
Well, I asked Mr. Moore after the meeting on the, let's see, 4th of February, I read him the ordinance, and I said, is this pretty clear? And he says, yeah, it's pretty clear. And I have advice from a couple of other folks that said it's pretty clear, and I have a friend that works for the Attorney General, and they looked at it and said it seems pretty clear. I also remember, I don't have a copy of it, unfortunately, but I've got a friend of mine looking into it, of the covenants that I signed when I purchased my house in 1986, before it was a part of the town of Irmo. And I recall the covenant forbid such vehicles, including boats, large boats, being in the view of the front of your home. And just happened to run across something online the other night from the Irmo Seven Oaks patch, November 2nd, 2011, and it was about the issue of having chickens in your backyard. And I won't read the whole thing, but there was a quotation in here saying that the major issue is that the town of Irmo is a bedroom community, and it's composed of a lot of subdivisions, not just rural land that somebody decided to build a house on. It's subdivisions with streets and covenants. When you bought into the subdivision, you had to agree to those covenants. The covenants are a contract, and those covenants clearly state no to any non-domesticated animals. With that said, how can the town pass an ordinance that circumvents a contract between the neighbors of that subdivision? I've asked the town attorney to investigate that and have been able to produce the covenants to many of the subdivisions. When we make a town ordinance, it has to fit everybody. I can't say you can do something and you can't. Not with an ordinance. An ordinance has to cover everyone. Even if I just had one neighborhood that had recorded covenants, that record in the courthouse, and you can't do that, how can I do an ordinance that said the contract you signed 15 years ago or so when you bought your home doesn't mean anything today? The covenants were put there to protect property values. Direct quote from Mr. Hoots. So my question is, who enforces the laws in town of Irmo? Planning Commission, Town Council? I was told that the town manager had to call the police chief and tell him to enforce a law. Now, maybe I misinterpreted what Bob said, but that's an awful situation where something happens and the chief's sitting there with his hands tied until he gets a phone call saying he can enforce the law that's on the books in the town of Irmo. That doesn't make sense to me. When I was a teacher, I taught government. Of course, I was teaching national and state government because I didn't go into all the cities and municipalities of the state because there's so many. But I was advised that as a private citizen, it's not my responsibility to see that the laws are enforced. So why would I need to go to the Planning Commission and go over this again and say that I've got opinions saying it's this way? Even the town attorney said it's this way, yet I've got to come to you guys and get you to tell me if it's right or wrong. And then if it's right, then the council's going to meet, and they're going to call back to the Planning Commission, who has to get it on their agenda again, and then bring it back to you on your agenda, and then by that time, well, I had a birthday yesterday, I might be dead by that time. I was always told when I was young that I should lead by example. When I was in the officer's candidate school at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, I was definitely told to lead by example. And I would think that the spirit of the law, as I was told by several attorneys, would have some play or precedent in this matter. And I do believe it does say Mayor Pro Tem, lead by example. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to address council? Seeing none. Next item is executive session. If there's anything.
Nothing.
Next item then would be adjournment. Is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
And second?
Second.
All in favor then of adjournment? We are adjourned.